Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. Literally no one asked me to make this video, but I've been seeing a lot of comments saying what's the difference in the reading experience between an iPad and a Kindle, so I kind of wanted to make a video about that. To clarify, this is only about reading on the iPad versus the Kindle. I do not know anything else, so if you ask me questions I probably won't be able to answer them, but for reference, this is my iPad Air Generation 3. I've had this since high school, so I've had it for quite a while. This is my Kindle Paperwhite Generation 11, which I've had since like the beginning of this year, so I've only owned it for 8 months. The first thing that I want to talk about is the cost. So obviously the iPad is going to cost a lot. I think that if you're buying it for its different functions, such as being able to draw, take notes, watch YouTube, etc., it's definitely worth it. But even depending on the different models that you buy, I feel like the iPad is way more expensive than buying on the Kindle, especially if you're buying it specifically just for reading. My Kindle costed $190 and I bought it during a sale. So Amazon has quite a lot of sales, which I feel like if you wait for the sale to come, you can get it for a lot cheaper. And even then, it's about $250 if you buy it for the full price, which I think is worth it compared to an iPad. I think if you're a physical reader as well and you buy a lot of physical books, a Kindle will save you a lot of money, because basically you can download a lot of ebooks, and then if you like reading those books, you can then buy the physical copy instead of buying physical books and then not liking the book and then being like, oh, I shouldn't have bought it. So I feel like overall a lot of money will be saved. The next thing that I want to be talking about is screen and space. So with the screen of an iPad, I think a lot of people are like, oh, an iPad's very big, like wouldn't it be easier to read on the iPad? My iPad is 10.9 inches, which I think is a really good size. However, I feel like reading on the iPad does not make a difference. I could read on my phone and it would be the same kind of experience, because obviously I can make the font bigger, etc. The issue is like with the screen itself. The screen is not really good for your eyes and it's not good for your reading experience. I personally can't read for too long on my iPad because my vision just gets really blurry and it hurts, even though the screen is really big. Obviously you can turn the brightness down, but I don't really think it makes a difference because the screen is not made for reading. It's made for, you know, the other functions that the iPad has. And even if you're reading the sun, there's a glare, which I feel like makes it even more difficult to read. The iPad screen also transmits blue light, which I've heard is good for the morning, but it's very bad at night when you're about to go to sleep, because it kind of makes your brain more awake. So the Kindle itself is specifically made to read. It has a matte screen. It literally looks like you're reading on paper, and I can sit down and read on my Kindle for hours and my eyes don't hurt. Like, it's even better than reading a physical book, because sometimes even when I read a physical book I need to take a break because the words have to blur together. But I don't know why with my Kindle it's good. I don't know if it's because I can change the size or I can change the font or whatever, but it does make my reading experience feel a lot better. When I'm talking about space, I'm talking about the convenience of taking it around with me. I like carrying books around with me just because I want to read everywhere. I want to know that I have the opportunity to read if I wanted to. Obviously, an iPad, I wouldn't want to carry it everywhere. I bring my iPad with me to uni because I use it for uni, but if I were, for example, to meet up with my friends and I wanted to read while I was commuting, I would not bring my iPad, because it's kind of like, why would you bring something so heavy and why would you bring something so valuable when you may not be using it like half of the time? And bringing it specifically for reading, I think it's a bit too much. The Kindle is literally made to be carried. It's slim, it's small, it's very light, it fits into most bags. Right now my Kindle case, it's like the problem because it's so chunky that it makes it a lot bigger, but I'm gonna get a new case soon, which I'm very excited about. But it's perfect when it comes to traveling compared to the iPad. Like, there is a clear difference for my iPad specifically of the size and the weight. The next thing that I want to talk about within space is storage. I think that both of them, whether you get an iPad or a Kindle, will have enough storage to hold a book. But for those of you guys who are worried about the storage on a Kindle, I have downloaded like probably 500 books, don't ask me how, but my Kindle still has a lot of space in it. It has 6 gigabytes, but I've only used like 1 point something, so I could probably download 1,000 books and my Kindle would be fine. That's how much storage it has, and books don't typically take a lot. So whichever device you pick, storage will be okay. But I think the main issue with the iPad is that you're gonna have a lot of it taken by other stuff if you're using other apps, because I play Genshin, I edit my videos on my iPad, and obviously that takes up a lot of storage. But I think with books it's still good. The next thing that I want to talk about is battery. So obviously with the iPad, the battery tends to run out a lot faster. I think if you're just reading, it can probably last up to 2 to 3 days if you're conserving it. However, with the Kindle, I read quite often and I probably charge my Kindle like once every 2 weeks. I hear people say that it lasts up to months. It just lasts quite a long time, which I really like, and it doesn't take super long to charge either. Like it takes like 2 hours, which is pretty fast. Like it surprised me by how fast it charged, whereas the iPad, or my iPad in general, just takes quite a while to charge, which sometimes frustrates me. But battery life is very long in the Kindle. iPad, not really, depending on how you use it. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is accessibility. The iPad, obviously, a lot of things are accessible. I have a lot of different apps on my iPad. If you're using the iPad specifically for reading, that's probably different. However, I think the main issue for me personally is that if I were to go on my iPad, my first thought is not reading. It's gonna be, oh, I want to watch YouTube, or I want to go on TikTok, because that's just my instinct, because I'm addicted to social media, which is horrible. But I feel like my first thought is obviously not, I'm gonna go on the Kindle app and read. And I feel like if you're on a device every single day, like if you're surrounded by technology, I think, you know, having a Kindle is nice because you get a break from that. Yes, a Kindle is a device as well, but it's like on its own little bubble, and it can only be used specifically for reading. So it doesn't really matter, like it's separate from everything. And I think that because the screen is better for your eyes as well, if you were reading before bed, it's a lot more better just for your brain as well. And I feel like it's nice to take a little break because you aren't going to get distracted by other things, such as like watching YouTube or like thinking about, oh, do you have schoolwork to do, etc. When you read on your Kindle, because the only thing that you can do is read, the only thing that you'll be focused on is reading. So that's basically all I wanted to talk about. To kind of summarize this video, my main points are, if you are buying an iPad specifically for reading, I would totally recommend getting the Kindle, because I definitely think it's worth it. Like I do not regret getting my Kindle, even though for years I was like, no, I don't want a Kindle. But I would also say that I would recommend it if you're like an avid reader. If you read every single day, every single hour, I would definitely recommend getting in a Kindle. If you're an occasional reader, I think reading on the iPad is fine. It just really determines on whether your eye hurts and gets affected by an iPad. Like overall, I think reading on both devices are fine because you're still getting to read that book, but I think there's a difference in experience. And if you are considering getting the Kindle, I definitely think it's worth it. Like you will not regret it. I will admit though, like I've had my iPad for a really long time. I've had it since I was in high school, and that's probably what, like 4 or 5 years, and never in my life have I thought, oh, I want to read on my iPad. Like I have read occasionally on my iPad, but I've never read quite frequently on my iPad, just because for me the reading experience is not very comfortable. So I am really glad that I got my Kindle, and I was kind of shocked by the experience that I had while reading my Kindle, because it's totally different. In the end, I think it really just depends on what type of reader you are and how you're using your iPad, and kind of just like your experience as well reading. If your eyes don't hurt, you're so lucky, but for me it does, and I have really bad eyesight, so I don't want to make it worse. But that's basically the end of this video. I hope you guys found it helpful. If you guys have any other questions about the Kindle, please comment it down below, because I will be happy to answer anything, because I love talking about my Kindle and I love trying to convince other people to buy it, because I'm literally obsessed with mine. And I hope you guys like this video, and I will see you in another one. Bye!